Within the ancient, yellowed archives of the Citadel, the history of Aegon's conquest has always been recorded by the Maesters in great, sometimes excessive detail. From that day, Aegon and his sisters called up their banners and set off from Dragonstone on their dragons. Through the night that the 5 towers of Harrenhal were melted to ruin, like candle wax by dragon flame. To that scorched field of fire, where farmers can still dig up melted, twisted metal to this day. From the high halls of lords to the humble huts of peasants, these tales of Aegon's conquest echo across the 7 kingdoms. Yet, Westerosi memory is short. Few recall that the first whispers of these legendary events began 100 years before, not upon the soil of Westeros, but across the narrow sea, on the vast continent of Essos, birthplace of many splendid civilizations. Within that nation, once the greatest empire, now sunk beneath the smoking sea, the Valyrian Freehold. It was an ordinary afternoon. Sitting on the terrace of Temple Vermax, Aenar Targaryen gazed into the distance. The distant mountain breeze from the 14 Flames offered little relief from the heavy burden upon his thoughts. A Dragonlord of Valyria, he had just presented his final offerings to this god of the traveller. On the morrow, he would give up his wealthy status within the Freehold, sell his lands in the lands of the long summer, gather his family, servants and dragons, and head off thousands of leagues away to settle down on a rugged, desolate island across the narrow sea. Dragonstone. This ridiculous resettlement has turned him into a laughingstock for other Dragonlords in the capital, as this madness was only based upon a dream of his daughter, a dream filled with fire and destruction. In the flames, she had seen Valyria engulfed by rivers of molten earth surging from shattered ground. The land cracked open by the god's fury. The 14 Flames erupted as one. Firestorms tore through every Valyrian road, and dragons plummeted from fire-raining skies, crashing into the boiling ocean of magma below. Within the Citadel, the Maesters argued that the true origin of the Targaryen dynasty should be dated back to this day, a day Aenar Targaryen might have seen as a sorrowful retreat. The very moment Aenar Targaryen took that fateful step away from Valyria, as they wrote, the destiny of Westeros was irrevocably set. From that moment, the first chapter of a book, to be written in blood and fire a century later, has quietly opened. House Targaryen originated in Old Valyria. They are one of the great Dragonlord houses of the Valyrian Freehold, whose lineage was blessed with the power to command and ride dragons. At the height of the Freehold's hegemony, around 40 Dragonlord families commanded hundreds, perhaps as many as 1,000, of these mighty beasts flew all over half of Essos. Once nomadic shepherds, the Valyrians roamed the northern plains of the Valyrian Peninsula, which lay at the foot of the 14 Flames, a formidable chain of volcanic mountains. Back in those early days, going by the seasons, they moved their flocks south as summer started changing into autumn. looking for fresh grazing land at the foot of 14 Flames. It was deep inside these volcanoes the Valyrians encountered these magic creatures, dragons. The origin of dragons is uncertain. There is also no definitive answer within the archives of the Citadel through the records. Among the research of maesters, Septon Barth proposed in his Unnatural History, dragons were the final result of Valyrian blood mages crossbreeding wyverns and fireworms through sorcery. A theory of horror that many maesters have since dismissed as implausible. The book, however, explored several accounts of conflicting legends. Tales in Karth suggest dragons came from a second moon that cracked open after the sun heated it up, releasing millions of dragons. It also included ancient tales from Asai, telling dragons were first tamed there by an unknown people who travelled to Valyria and taught the Valyrians the art to master dragons. Many may deem it untrue, yet it still implies their possible origins in the Shadowlands beyond Asai. Despite this tangle of conflicting lore, it is generally understood in the Citadel, while dragons may have existed elsewhere in the history of Essos, only the Valyrians unlocked the secrets necessary to breed and command them. The civilization built up and shaped by Dragonflame was far more magnificent than later history ever described. It turned the Valyrians' mud brick shepherd villages into grand palaces, halls and towers. The dragon's fire melted stone and fused it together, building straight, wide Valyrian roads. Riding on the backs of the dragons, the Valyrians finally put down the first foundations for their own nation, the Valyrian Freehold. As the Valyrians laboured to consolidate their freehold on their peninsular homeland, aided by the power of dragons, the ancient powers of Essos, the Rhoynar and the Giscari, regarded these former shepherds with indifference. They had long been sitting proudly in their magnificent temples, holding on to histories and cultures richer than Valyria. The Rhoynar water mages could summon the power of the great Rhoynar River, and their smiths forged vast quantities of ironwork, blades, tools and wares, each of unmatched craftsmanship. The Giscari Empire traced its imperial roots all the way back to the Dawn Age, and long had they been sailing across the sea for colonies, raising magnificent pyramids for their goddess. Throughout written history, their disciplined lockstep legions brought countless enemies to their knees. The great and ancient civilizations of Essos regarded the Valyrians as insignificant. After all, while they were writing their histories, telling legends of their forefathers, the shepherds of Valyria likely didn't even know of paper and ink. They mocked the Valyrians for their young and humble origins and laughed at their ambitions, but they never bothered looking up at the skies over the land of the long summer. There, on the distant horizon, dragons gathered in growing numbers, waiting for their masters to give the word. The young freehold, its wings still fledgling, now marched out onto the blood-soaked battlefield, going up against the seasoned legions and the might of an ancient titan.